How's it going, everyone? I am the Shaz here with the next video in the card analysis series, this time going over the first set of FES Aqua cards. As with the FES Muse card analysis, I will also be letting you know which cards, if any, were excluded from the first Anniversary FES banner. We will be covering the FES Aqua cards in the order that they were released. The first FES card that was released was FES Yo, also known as Yo 2 or Splash Marin You. A pure attribute voltage type card, at the time of its release, it was the best scorer in the game for the attribute. At Limit Break 0, Yo starts off with 6936 base appeal, 4628 base stamina, and 4953 base technique, giving her a 14.57% crit rate. Her tap active is pretty limited, as it provides an appeal boost to other second years by 6.6% over the next 5 nodes, with this skill activating at the standard 33% rate. Her passive is very weird for a voltage type card, increasing the stamina of all cards by 3.6% at skill level 3. Her live show active, if activated upon strategy switch, increases the skill activation rate of all members by 10% for the next 10 nodes, with this LSA activating at a 30% rate. Overall, the card is quite good, but it does have a couple of blemishes. First, her tap active forces you in a direction to run only second years in your strategy to maximize the skill, but if you aren't running FES Setsuna or FES Chika with her, most times her tap active is only buffing herself. Second, her passive is just, well, awkward. It was a way to balance out the strength of this card, but it greatly decreases the card's viability for anything except frontline duty. The only exception for this is during SBL. Her live show active, with the skill activation rate up after strategy switch, makes her into an SK Cheeser's dream, along with Parade Pana and something like Snow Halation Maki. The second card released was FES Yohane, also known as Yoha 3 or Devil Rocker Yohane. A natural attribute SK type card, this one is, well, not very good. At Limit Break 0, she starts with 5883 base appeal, 5543 base stamina, and 5380 base technique, giving her a 15.82% crit rate. Her tap active increases the skill activation rate of cards in the same strategy by a staggering 26% at skill level 3, though only for the next 2 nodes, and with this skill activating at the standard rate. Her passive is also very weak, only increasing the technique of other cards in her strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is extremely weird, as if it is activated at the beginning of a live, increases the guard type switch bonus of the same strategy by 200% for the remainder of the live, with this skill activating at a 20% rate. As you can probably guess by looking at the card in its entirety, this card, even at high limit breaks, is not very impressive. The card is only typically run during SBL, as this Yohane has the ability to win you a skill activation MVP all by herself. Running her in a formation with 5 other SK type skill activation rate up tap active cards and switching between those 2 strategies is one of the easiest ways to get yourself in position for a skill activation MVP. However, this is as useful as the card will be, as her balanced stats make it hard for her to even be used as part of a center 3 for natural songs if you have other natural attribute URs at the same limit break. After skipping a FES banner, the third Aqua FES card was FES Mari, also known as Mari 3 or Princess Mari. A cool attribute skill type card, she is still considered to be the best guest card in the game, and one of the best offensive sustain cards as well. At Limit Break 0, Mari starts with an equal 5380 on both her base appeal and base stamina. Her strongest stat is her technique, which comes in at 6047 and a 32.79% crit rate. Her tap active is a very strong stamina heal, healing for 34% of her technique at skill level 3. Her passive is one of the best for frontline scoring, boosting the appeal of all cards in the same strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Her live show active, if activated at the beginning of a live, increases the appeal for all members by 5% for the rest of the live, activating at a 30% rate. As many of you probably know, FES Mari is considered to be the best guest card in the game due to the combination of her passive, maximum 4 insight slots, and the chance for her live show active to trigger. In addition, she is one of the best all-around cards for healing plus scoring in the game. While she may not be a good scorer on her own, her high crit rate at high limit breaks, coupled with her skills, means that if she's in a formation with cards like FES Chika, FES Setsuna, or FES Kanan, she'll score just fine. The next FES card release was FES Hanamaru, also known as Maru 3 or Messenger Maru, a natural attribute guard type card. This, as opposed to the FES Mari we just went over, is considered by some to be the best purely defensive sustain card in the game. At limit break 0, Maru starts off with 5204 base appeal, 6386 base stamina, and 5204 base technique, giving her a 15.31% crit rate. Her tap active provides a stamina shield equal to 34% of her stamina at skill level 3, activating at the standard 33% rate. Her passive ability increases the stamina of all cards in your team by 3.6% at skill level 3. Finally, her live show active, if activated on one of her taps, has a 20% chance to provide a stamina heal equal to 10% of her stamina. With her combination of tap active plus live show active, FES Maru can easily keep you alive for almost any song in the game. While her appeal is low, that's not the reason you would run her as your main sustain card. Her entire objective is to keep you alive. She's the first card to provide both a stamina heal and shield from one of her taps, with the next being the upcoming Spotlight Chika you are. Overall, this is one of the best sustain cards in the game, though there are a few more that we will cover shortly that could easily rank up there as well. The next UR is FES Ruby, also known as Ruby 4 or Little Devil Ruby. An elegant attribute guard type card, this is another sustain card that excels at its main job, which is keeping your stamina in the green for most songs. At limit break 0, Ruby starts off with 4269 base appeal, a massive 8208 base stamina, and 4611 base technique, giving her a 13.56% crit rate. Her tap active provides a stamina heal of 34% of her stamina at skill level 3, activating at the standard rate. Her passive is pretty limited, providing a stamina buff of 4.6% to other elegant attribute cards at skill level 3. Her live show active is the weakest part of her kit, which, if activated at the beginning of an appeal chance, decreases the damage of notes during the AC by 5%, with this ability activating at a 50% rate. Aside from her weak live show active, this card is also a powerhouse sustain card, better than FES Maru depending on the song. At higher limit breaks, this card is an absolute monster, and at max limit break, with the inclusion of just her own passive, has over 15k stamina by herself, meaning that she will heal for over 6,000 stamina every time her tap active goes off. The trade-off for this is a very low base appeal stat, but if you can team build correctly, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. The next FES card released was FES Chika, also known as Chika 4 or Chikakyun Summer Chika. A pure attribute voltage type, this card is an amazing complement to FES Yo. At limit break 0, she starts off with a very high 7689 base appeal, 3420 base stamina, and 5979 base technique, giving her a 17.59% crit rate. Her tap active provides a voltage gain increase to other second years by 9% for the next 3 notes at skill level 3, activating at the standard rate. Her passive is the best for frontline scoring in the game, providing an appeal buff to all cards in the same strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is very weak, however, giving a 5% chance to gain 60% of her appeal as voltage upon switching strategies, something you will most likely never do with this card unless it's for a song like Yume no Tobira. In evaluating this card as a whole, it is an excellent score. Unfortunately, two of the largest parts of her kit are largely irrelevant unless you build a team to optimize them. Her tap active does require a full team of second years to be maximized, which is not really ideal. Even having it constrained to same attribute or same type cards would be better, but this was probably done in an effort to balance out the card's power level. In addition, since you're going to be frontlining this card 99.99% of the time, the only chances you would have to proc her LSA are at the beginning of a song and at the end of the song. And while it may give you a nice chunk of voltage as a bonus, the 5% skill activation rate is just too much of a crapshoot. Overall, still a card I'd love to get if I don't have it, but won't beat myself up about if I don't get it. The next card in the FES Aqua lineup was FES Daya, also known as Daya 5 or Luxury Pink Daya. A pure attribute SK type, this card is a silent juggernaut of the attribute if you can build her team right. At limit break 0, Daya starts out with 6596 base appeal, 3815 base stamina, and 6954 base technique, starting her off with a 35.45% crit rate. This trails only Initial Maru and FES Kasumi for highest crit rate in the attribute at limit break 0. There is a glaring downside to FES Daya. All of her abilities revolve around other third years. Her tap active is impactful, providing an increase to the crit rate of other third years by a massive 17% for the next 5 notes at skill level 3 with the standard skill activation rate. Her passive increases the appeal of other third years by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is pretty weak, however. If activated upon AC completion, her LSA increases the voltage gain of other third years by 8%, but only for the next 5 notes, with this skill activating at a 50% rate. Even though Daya has all these seemingly strong stats and abilities, they are limited to other third years, so team building around a higher limit break version of this card does become a little bit tricky. One of the easier solutions is to build a team around the 3 FES Aqua third years, since you will get a massive appeal boost with both Mari and Kanan. Mari acts as your sustain card, and your primary scorer would be Kanan. I can, however, see multiple different strategies employing this card, like a pure attribute third years comp featuring FES Daya, Initial Ellie, and Noble Princess Karen. Or, if you want to go full balls to the wall scoring, you could opt for FES Daya, FES Kanata, and FES Kanan in a voltage ranking situation, since a boost to Kanata and Kanan's crit rates would mean that they would be tapping for max value in most instances. If, however, you find yourself lacking a lot of other high appeal third years before you pull her, this card becomes significantly less valuable. Next, we get to FES Riko, also known as Riko 5 or Rose Riko. This card was the last FES card on the first Anniversary Aqua banner on JP. An active attribute guard card, this card, in the right situations, can be the best scoring guard type card in the game. At limit break 0, Riko starts with 5039 base appeal, 7120 base stamina, and 5206 base technique, giving her a 15.31% crit rate. Her tap active is what has become the standard for FES card stamina healing, healing for 34% of her stamina at skill level 3. Both her passive and live show active are restrictive, as they are limited to same attribute cards. Her passive provides a stamina buff to other active attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is what gives her the possibility for amazing scoring, as if it is activated on her own taps, will increase the voltage gain for other active attribute cards by 8%, but only for the next 2 notes. This skill also only activates at a 15% rate, or roughly 1 out of every 6 times Riko has a tap. Here's the deal with this Riko. If you happen to have a high limit break on FES Setsuna, Toy Shop Panic Yo, FES Kanan, or the future Christmas event Kotori, this card can do you wonders in active attribute songs. For example, on JP, I ran this card in the most recent SBL with a max limit break Setsuna and a max limit break Kanan. This card was, for the most part, keeping up with the scoring of the two powerhouses, while still providing healing to keep my stamina green. Now admittedly, I don't have the best backline cards to help support her to boost her scoring, but I did the best that I could and was surprised to see this card at limit break 4 crit tapping for over 50k. For guard type cards, that kind of scoring feels like it should be illegal. However, as with FES Daya, the card itself can do well on its own, though if you really want to maximize the abilities of this card, you are pigeonholed into building your teams a certain way. Finally, we get to the last of the initial set of Aqours FES cards, FES Kanan, also known as Kanan 5 or Secret Galaxy Kanan. This card was not on the first anniversary banner on JP, as the banner she was on came out a few days after the first anniversary banners had already released. The new queen of brute force scoring at her release, Kanan at limit break 0, starts with a staggering 7,987 base appeal, 3,471 base stamina, and 5,907 base technique, giving her a 17.37% crit rate. Her tap active is equivalent to FES Setsuna, providing a voltage boost equal to 36% of her appeal at skill level 3. Her passive is one of the new hybrid abilities, with this one quite possibly being the best in the game. Her passive combines the amazing 6% appeal boost to same strategy cards, then tacks on an extra 2.5% buff to each card's technique stat at skill level 3. Her live show active, thankfully, is miles better than Setsuna's. As soon as you begin a live, Kanan's live show active is guaranteed to trigger, providing an appeal boost of 2.5% for all cards in the same strategy. As I explained in a separate video detailing this card, yes, she is very good. Some would go so far as to say this card is broken. While I won't go that far, I will say that this card is amazing, and many people are saving for her or have already pulled her during her FES banner release. The problem I foresee with this card, however, is that much like the Festina Exodus of May 2020, fair weather players on the global server of All-Stars, especially ones that don't know how to save star gems or don't understand the concept of sparking, will easily get mad if they don't pull her and probably quit the game. Don't be this player. Yes, this card is a very strong scorer, but much like FES Setsuna, if you only pull one copy of her and don't have any radiance to limit break her further, she's way weaker than some of your cards with 3, 4, or 5 limit breaks already on them. Anyway, enough of my rant. The best part about this card is her unidolized art, where all of you true Kanan degenerates can see her feet, though she does have stockings on. Before we end the video, let's go over a breakdown of the cards by attribute, then typing. By attribute, we have 0 Smile, 3 Pure, Yo, Chika, Daya, 1 Cool, Mari, 2 Active, Riko and Kanan, 2 Natural, Yohane and Maru, and 1 Elegant, Ruby. By typing, we have 3 Voltage, Yo, Chika, Kanan, 3 Guard, Ruby, Maru, Riko, 0 SP, and 3 SK, Yohane, Mari, and Daya. As far as the first year anniversary banner goes, even with the probability of FES Kanan not being on it, the FES Aqua banner is still really good. Out of all of the cards, there are only a couple of situational cards, but everything else in the box would be solid. If I were to pull on the banner, I'd be completely fine with any of these 6 cards: Yo, Mari, Maru, Ruby, Chika, and Riko. Depending on how your allotment of third years are, Daya might even be a great pull for you too. The only card that not many people will be happy to pull is FES Yoha, since that card is only seen as being good for SBL. Every other card in the box is great, compared to more than one lackluster or situational card on the Muse banner. As I stated in the FES Muse analysis, if you are going to pull on either of the first anniversary banners for cards that would greatly impact your card pool, I would pull on the Aqua one. Then, if you've done 25 10 pulls and you want to spark a Muse card you really want, go right ahead. If you were to objectively ask most of the high-level All-Stars players, most of them would tend to agree. This does not mean going out and dropping an absurd amount of money you're uncomfortable with on the banner, however. I'm a huge advocate of sparking, since I know how bad your luck can get sometimes during rolls. This is why I highly suggest you only do pulls or rolls if you have 12,500 gems. If you need evidence of this, go look back at my FES LEI pulls. I did 50 combined 10 pulls over 2 accounts, 500 cards pulled. How many FES LEs did I pull? 0. So, for those of you who are prone to become a Salt Fest greater than Amelia Watson playing an FPS game, I suggest you save your gems and wait for a banner with strong cards. The advantage to playing on the global server of All-Stars right now is that we know what banners are coming up when, so we have more time to save. And with that little mini rant done, this concludes the FES Aqua card analysis. As always, a huge thank you to Xifrid for help with all of the slides for the video. If you have any further questions on any of the cards I talked about, leave a comment down below or swing by twitch.tv/IamTheShaz, where I stream 5 times a week. I've been I Am The Shaz, take it easy, be nice to each other, and I'll see you all next time.